Right, so last night was the WWE 2K15 roster reveal, and it looks like there's about 65 people in total from what I've looked at online. However, there is going to be 92, I believe, in total, so there's still a lot to be seen. Who those people are going to be, though, I honestly don't know. Due to the fact that, looking at the list, it looks like a lot of the big names in the company have already been confirmed. We've got the pre-order bonuses, which is Sting, both in his classic NWO era Crow attire, as well as his Surfer Boy gimmick from the late 80s, early 90s. And another one we've got is Hollywood Hulk Hogan from the NWO, as well as the classic Hulkamania attire from the WWF. Absolutely fantastic to see both of those people in the game, especially having such a sort of push at the sort of front of the game. Absolutely great. Fantastic to see Sting in WWE, something I've wanted to see for a long time. But moving on from that and having a look at the roster itself, we've got a lot of the top dogs, like I've already said. We've got CM Punk in there, which some people are surprised at. However, the sort of the work that goes into the game starts pretty much as soon as the previous game has already came out. So, although Punk did depart from the company, I believe about January, a lot of his work would have already been done. And due to the fact that he was such a big part of WWE in the last year, he's going to be featured quite heavily in the game. And another one who's recently departed is Alberto Del Rio. However, that was much more recent, so all of his work would have already been done. So although he's not with the company, he's still going to be in the game. And then looking through the list, we've got a few legends as well. As I've mentioned, we've already got Sting and Hulk Hogan. We've got some mainstays who pretty much are never going to go anywhere in terms of WWE games. They're going to be here for the rest of the time. First off, we've got the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. We've got Stone Cold Steve Austin. Triple H, although he is still technically part of the roster, he's pretty much a legend. And a guy that's not going to go anywhere either. And of course, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And apparently I've heard Kevin Nash is in the game, although I haven't seen anything sort of official myself. Although I'm not disputing that he probably is part of the game, obviously due to his Legends contract. Moving on, looking through the list, speaking of The Rock, we've got a few more part-timers in it. Obviously we've got Brock Lesnar. Will he be champion coming out of SummerSlam? Obviously, if you're watching this video tomorrow or any time in the future, you'll be able to tell me whether he is or not. But at the minute, it remains to be seen. I believe he probably will. Whether he deserves to be, I don't know. But speaking of Brock Lesnar, we've obviously got The Undertaker, who unfortunately went 21-1 at WrestleMania. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. Not at all. But that's just the way it is. But moving on through the roster, we've got The Undertaker, so obviously we've got his brother Kane. In his new masked gimmick, I really can't get with it. He was scary as hell back in the late 90s, even the early 2000s, especially when he took his mask off eventually. Even though I was a teenager at the time, it was still pretty scary stuff, but can't get the grips of it nowadays. But obviously he's going to be a part of it. He's been with WWE pretty much non-stop for the last 17 years. Pretty much, it's coming up actually 17 years since the Kane character was revealed at Hell in a Cell as part of Bad Blood 97. But anyway, moving on through the roster, we've got some of the mainstays. Got guys like Bad News Barrett. Fantastic to see him in it. He is pushed there quite a bit. He is sort of made out to be obviously quite good, but he never seems to just get there. He never seems to just get that sort of shot that he deserves, which hopefully he will get at some point. Moving on, we've got guys who, another mainstay, The Big Show, who's been with WWE pretty much continuously from 1999. Obviously he was with WCW before then. And then we've got one of my favourite stables that have came out in a while. These guys just continue to impress me. I love every sort of segment they get up to. It's the Wyatt family, Bray, and then obviously we've got Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Absolutely fantastic. Love those guys. And speaking of factions and stables, obviously we're going to have the Shield. I believe though they are going to be together as a team in this game, although they have broken up now. But that was quite recent, and like I said, the work goes into the game quite early on. So that's going to be cool to see both of those in the game. Hopefully they are featured quite heavily. And moving on through the list, we've got guys such as Cesaro, who you can tell he's going to go find the company. I really do like the guy. I'm sort of a bit on the fence though. I really like him. I think his ability as a wrestler is absolutely fantastic, and apparently he's strong as hell, and I really don't dispute that. Apparently he just lifted the Big Show over his head and just held him. Absolutely just phenomenal athlete, but I don't know, there's just something I just can't quite sort of get to like him yet. I don't know if there's just something about his look. I think I don't know, but either way, he's absolutely fantastic wrestler, so it's going to be great to have him in the game. And then, moving on, obviously we've got the one and only Daniel Bryan, who accomplished his dream at WrestleMania. He main evented, he won the title, but unfortunately everything went a little bit tits up after that. He ended up having neck surgery and is currently out of action and probably will be for the foreseeable. Anyway, moving on. We've got Dolph Ziggler, who absolutely fantastic wrestler and one that I believe does deserve more than he gets. Whether he'll get that, I don't know. I think he's had a sniff at it, but I just don't think it's going to happen for him. Unfortunately though, he's absolutely fantastic. And then also we've got one of my favourite guys from my era, which was the Attitude Era, Goldust. It's absolutely fantastic to see him back. Just sort of reliving the past every week with him. Absolutely fantastic wrestler as well, and one that's probably being a bit of a role model for the roster at the minute, especially the younger guys. He's a guy that's just been around the block a few times, and one that I'm sure a lot of them can learn from. And moving on to, well, you could say new guys. These guys have been here for a while, but they've really just started to come to the forefront and started to become really popular, and that is the Uso brothers. Guys that I've really been fans of for a long time, but I always feel that they were just ended up jobbing to people. They were never really featured. Every time the roster was sort of went through the phase of being released, all the talent, I was always expecting them to come up, and I would have been really disappointed if that was the case. But thankfully they captured the tag team titles, and suddenly they're sort of getting pushed to the forefront on the TV, and everyone's loving them, and rightly so, because they're absolutely fantastic. And then moving on, we've got the one and only Mr. John Cena, or Super Cena, whatever you want to call him. That guy has been literally at the forefront of the company for over a decade. He's been there near enough every night. The guy will never let you down, despite what you think of him. Absolutely fantastic guy, and one that is literally willing to put it all on the line for the company. So, obviously he's a cover star as well. He's going to be heavily featured, and rightly so, regardless of what you think of him. And then, moving on, going through the list, it looks like there's a couple of people who sort of, they're there every week, but they never really get anywhere really. I don't know, it's just, there's guys like Kofi Kingston who, personally, I'm a massive fan of, but he sort of just never seems to get anywhere. He had that sort of little feud with Randy Orton, but apart from that, he's just sort of, just does his thing, never really gets appreciated. But anyway, that's my opinion. I love the guy. I love the guy. And speaking of another guy like that, R-Truth, absolutely fantastic wrestler. A lot of people probably don't know he was actually in the WWF in the late 90s, early 2000s as K-Quick. With Road Dogg from the New Age Outlaws. They were called, I can't remember what they were called now. I really can't remember what they were called. I was actually going to say it there. But either way, they had that theme song, Getting Rowdy. Pretty cool. I actually really liked it back then. And then obviously he went over to TNA as Ron Killings before coming back as R-Truth. And then moving on, another mainstay, another guy that's been at the forefront of the company for over a decade now, Randy Orton, the Viper. He's been featured a lot in the promotional material already. And expecting him to sort of have a big part in the game. Absolutely fantastic wrestler, and one that, like John Cena, is going to be around for a long time. Then, another part-timer now, one that I'm also a massive fan of. We've got Mr. RVD, Mr. Monday Night, Mr. Money in the Bank, whatever you want to call him. That dude is fantastic. Unfortunately though, even though he's only a part-timer, and the part-timers are generally putting the younger guys over, I sort of feel like he's just getting made to job to people, which is a shame because he's absolutely great. And even though he sort of has 3 months on at a time, I'd love to see him do a bit more in the company than what he's actually doing. But anyway, moving on. Next up we've got Ryback. Once again, one of those guys that really should have gone far, despite the fact that I wasn't really into him. But I just felt like he was going to go far. But it seems like that's been sort of put on hold for now. So what will come of him, I do not know. And next up on my list, just flicking through, we've got Sheamus. Great guy. Great wrestler. He's had his sort of run at the top. Whether he'll get it again, I don't know. Guys like him and Cesaro, they could be the future. I imagine they're going to be. They're still fairly young. They're still sort of got a long way to go. And that's pretty much about it in terms of the main roster. Guys that are worth sort of mentioning. Obviously we've got The Miz as well, one that I nearly forgot. And it's cool to see a guy like Xavier Woods, who some of you may know he was Consequences Creed in TNA. When he was in TNA, I absolutely loved the guy. So it's pretty cool just to see him go to NXT and then up to Raw. I did expect when he got to NXT, he was just going to get buried and sort of released and never to be seen again. which would have been sad because I really enjoyed him in TNA, so it's fantastic to see him actually step up to this level that he's at now. But that being said, that's pretty much majority of the big names. It's quite hard to actually sit now and think of who's missing. Actually thinking about the roster, what they've got at the minute, the only guys I can really think of, we've got Christian, who hasn't been revealed yet. I did hear he's retiring soon, but I would expect him to be in the game. And then one guy I'm really surprised he's still with the company is Heath Slater. Not that he's a bad wrestler, I'm not sort of making a dig at his skills at all. I believe he's a good wrestler, but he just seems to be the jobber of the company. But obviously he's still with the company, so I would expect him to be there. Maybe 3MB will be in the game, although 2 of them were released. But as I said, a lot of the work goes into the game really early on, so maybe they'll be there. And another guy that hasn't been mentioned is Sin Cara, so maybe he will be in the game. I'd expect him to be, but that remains to be seen. And the only other guy that really jumps out is Zack Ryder, another guy who he literally put it all on the line for the company. He made his name, he made it his own. He did all that work with the social media, basically just built his fan base up huge. The guy could have been a star, especially even if it was just in the mid card. That guy could have been a star, and WWE just buried it. But never mind. He's still with the company, so expect him in the game. But apart from that, I can't really think of who else could be in it. In terms of the divas, though, one diva who I'd really love to see in the game is Paige. She only really sort of made her name, though, after WrestleMania, where she defeated AJ Lee. So whether she'll make the cut or not, I don't know. But she's been a big part of the diva division over the last sort of 5 months or so. So I'd expect her to be in it, although it's not guaranteed. But like I said, I really hope she is. But apart from that, I don't know who else is going to be in the game. Hopefully they don't put just a load of legends in to fill it out. You might have guys like Booker T. No reason why not. Even JBL might be in it. But apart from that, I don't know who really to put in with just sort of being filler. You could have the New Age Outlaws, though. That wouldn't be a bad thing. Obviously, they've been sort of a part of the WWE sort of on and off over the last sort of year or so. So it would be good to see them. But as I said, apart from that, I don't know. But it remains to be seen. There's still 27 spots, I believe. So I'm sure we'll find out in the coming months. But anyway, that concludes everything. Like I said, basically just been through the roster and just sort of showing who was in the game and what sort of could happen. Hopefully we'll find out soon, and hopefully you'll be joining me in a couple of months' time with this game. It looks absolutely fantastic so far. I know everyone says each year that the game looks like realistic, and every year it's the same. It looks more realistic, it looks real life, but looking at the promo pictures, it really does. This is sort of getting to the point now in technology where it's as real as it's going to get. Obviously, probably next year we'll be saying that it's even more realistic. But at the minute, it looks absolutely great, and I can't wait for it. And I hope you guys will be joining me very, very soon, creating some of the fantasy matchups, especially with Sting. That's going to be absolutely great, and I can't wait for it. So, anyway, that concludes the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've getting excited as I am about the roster, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Until then, guys, bye for now.